Hey everyone, Mrs. Marvel, episode two. Annabelle's with us again. Hey Annabelle.
Hi guys.
So episode two, quite a very different direction from episode one. I would say the writing was quite different. I felt the discrepancy between the two episodes. Episode two, much more exposition. They were trying to rush things out. I felt it didn't give me the smoothness that episode one gave me. So it kind of gave me the series gave me this classical series vibe where like they throw everything in the first episode to get you hooked and then let it go for a couple of episodes in a cliche way, and then they give another great performance at the end. Yeah, there were a lot of exposition in this episode. I didn't like the dialogue at all. I understand it was cultural, and we talked about it in the previous episode, on episode one, but we said that they did it in the right way in episode one. It didn't feel like they were throwing things at us so that we know. They did it in a way that was very smooth and not so direct to while we were able to still understand. But here it felt like they were just giving us information because they were just inputting sentences and adding sentences just so that it felt just so that they were referred to the audience, not to the actual story. So yeah, what do you think?
I agree. I think this episode did feel a lot less smooth than the first one. I feel like this one you could almost break it up. There was quite a few different things happening. Um, I also agree with the cultural things. I think some of it almost felt repetitive in the dialogue where they kept enunciating certain things and repeatedly referencing them, and you could tell it was for audience members, which I don't think they necessarily needed to do. I think, when you can cut back on some of that dialogue, it's done in the way that we felt it in the first episode, where I could pick up on things I didn't know before, but I could understand them, and it felt more natural then. um but yeah, I don't I wasn't too excited. I didn't think this episode was too exciting. That's not to say it wasn't good. There was some new information which I think is interesting, but I don't know. I was kind of underwhelmed. I was excited in the beginning when we started off with that training scene. I thought that was cool, and I thought we were going to see a lot of like her powers developing and stuff. And then I think it kind of got into some of the cliche classic like high school things, introducing the new love interest. And then there was more stuff with her family, and now we have this new idea of like her great grandmother maybe had these powers. So it was like a lot of information that was both, new and exciting, and then also like felt very classic to a high school series.
I definitely agree. Um, it just brought me back to the classical high school thing. We talked about it in the first episode. We said, oh, it didn't give this high school vibe in the first episode, but then suddenly that's what they were giving us. I felt that the character, her best friend Nakia, took too much time.
Yeah.
She didn't necessarily need all this time, and it was clear that her character was just out there to talk to the audience. How she was complaining about it all started with, in class when she was complaining about the curriculum, and then she started complaining about her ethnicity. But I mean, of course, these are all important stuff, and I can definitely relate to that because I feel like I'm not white, but I'm not too ethnic, so I can relate to that. But they didn't do the best job in sharing this information with us. So
It was all very just like sprinkled in random spots. So it was like it feels like Disney is just trying to like mention things to get the credit for mentioning stuff, but they're not really like, addressing them or like talking about them at length. So it's almost like either have it in there all the way or don't have it in there at all. Because now it feels like it's just like half
forced upon
done.
us. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Definitely. Yeah, I didn't like, for example, this scene specifically, I like it brings us back to the idea of how they were having continuous shots.
Hmm.
I liked it, but then
Like the focus completely changes.
exactly.
And I was like, are you trying to address like these discrepancies in female health, or are you trying to focus on how she's like struggling to control her powers? So I don't know. And then I also thought it was weird that, which this continuous shot is nice,
Exactly, I loved it. But
and
then
the
the way she,
colors were nice.
yeah,
Everything's just changing really fast now. I feel like you can't keep up. I know it's dumb, but
Are you kidding? Between the hijab and the girlies, my parents can barely make eye contact with me anymore.
how are you making it look so easy?
Easy? It's definitely not easy. My whole life, I've either been too white for some people, too ethnic for others, and it's been this very uncomfortable, sucky in between. So, to put this on, I was hoping to shut some people up, but I kind of realized I don't really need to prove anything to anybody.
so yeah, I feel that this scene's particularly was shot in a nice way. I like this transition from
Mm-hmm.
inside the toilet to the outside. It was really nice, but then it felt that her monologue was kind of brought in suddenly.
Yeah, it
And
came out of nowhere.
it really came out of nowhere. And you're not, she's not the protagonist first. And secondly, not that she had to be the protagonist to have such a monologue, but you didn't give me enough build up or enough background for that character
Yeah.
to throw me such a long monologue, especially in episode 2. So, and even like before that, when she was talking about history, how uh, you give 6 weeks for Europeans, but you give 6 hours for Byzantine and Persian.
Mm-hmm.
It felt thrown in into the
Yeah.
mix. It wasn't related to anything. Yeah, I didn't. I wasn't buying it.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like we should have, if they were gonna, start to focus on her as a larger side character in these upcoming episodes, I feel like in the last episode they should have maybe tried to sprinkle in some background information about her, because I feel like she really wasn't in the first episode too much at all. And then all of a sudden she's in it quite a bit in this episode, and like we're gonna see her political running more and see it carry out. So I don't know. We'll see how she continues to be in it and how much she continues to be in it. Because on the other hand, I feel like Bruno really wasn't in this one too much at all, but he was in the first episode a lot. So I don't know.
Yeah, and the switch didn't really make sense to me with the love interest because they were
Yeah,
literally about to kiss 24 hours earlier. And okay, I understand that if you meet someone from your culture, it's always a big plus and all of that, but not to the point where you completely neglect your best friend you were about to kiss
yeah,
the day before. And at least if you want to give attention to the guy, you wouldn't do it in front of your best friend. Now I
yeah,
understand she's too young and she probably doesn't know these simple rules of how to approach someone, all of that. But you need this transition just didn't make sense to me. It didn't
yeah.
make sense
And
to me at all.
I think that's why it felt even more cliche. Like it really felt like they brought this character in at this moment to try and force a love triangle of sorts. And so I was kind of like, seriously. um, but I did think like the friendship seems cool. Um, and now I'm really interested in him as a character, considering the ending and him introducing his mom and the fact
Yeah.
that he like must have some sort of knowledge about her powers, but yeah, I have no idea.
Oh yeah, they were able to have some sort of remedy at the end of the episode, but again, it felt that um it was just a typical way of
Yeah,
having a series go. You just throw in random scenes and then have a hookup, have like a scene where it hooks you up to the series so that you continue watching it, and then
yeah,
you keep on, and it's like snowball effect until the season ends. So, I mean, it was good, but it still feels it's under the umbrella of what we would see in the early 2000s or in the 90s, just like a quick time grab from the audience. Um, I was also interested in how not interested. I was also like disappointed of how the relationship with the mom suddenly, because the last episode ends with her having this not big fight, but uh not not good relationship with her mom after what she did, and they have like a very cool scene which we talked about. The acting was amazing, and then suddenly in this episode, they're like suddenly everything was better and all right because these are the events that happen. I think the next day or the next 2 days. So
Yeah.
it's not like things between
No
them.
time had passed. I was like, what? I was so confused. Like, she didn't get like I probably would have been grounded or like, and then she was able to go to Zoe's party without any hitch. Like she was like, can I go to Zoe's house? Like some friends will be there. We won't like, we're gonna go at night. When like the previous episode, there was such a huge issue with her being out late and stuff. So it just like it felt like this was a different family, you know? Like it felt like all the relationships had gone out the window. Like she totally loosened the reins. And I was, yeah, that kind of bothered me. I was kind of confused, especially since I was so excited with how their relationships was playing out in the first episode. And I really liked having those, you know, real moments between her and her mother. And I felt like in this episode, they just like cut that all out, you know?
Yeah, exactly. The transition didn't make sense. It was very disappointing. It felt that they were just throwing things at us. We were talking about it with Obi-Wan Kenobi, how we don't want like some things to be episodic. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Here it was clearly episodic. I think maybe they had some smoothness with like the mosque scene and the transition towards campaigning, but even when she was talking about campaigning, she was like throwing this long monologue, like, "Oh, we should talk to these people and these people and these
Yeah.
people," and it was like a fast transition. I wasn't even having the time to notice all of them. So what do you expect me to just pause the thing to just look at them one by one?
Yeah.
That's not how it works. Yeah, it didn't make sense at all.
You are going to start with the Mosque Bros, yes?
Come on, the Mosque Bros never respect the halal gap.
Hey, I mean, at least the Pious Boys are easier. Their life is one giant halal gap. After that, we will mobilize the Sunday school teachers to help infiltrate the Instaclick. Bruno, your group should be relatively easy. It's the converts.
Technically the reverts.
But to do that, you have to make it past the mini Harami girls. And last, the ones who know it all and will not let you forget it, the Illuminantes.
Dibs. I'll talk to them.
Okay. Meanwhile, I have to go after my white whale.
Yeah, like now that I look at it that way, maybe it sounds cool, but once if you look at it,
It's so fast.
in the context of the episode, it doesn't make sense at all of how like they threw it quickly. Like, no, it doesn't work like that. No.
Yeah. And we're already getting so many new characters and new information in this episode. That was just like so much more that I don't think I'm gonna need to know later. That I was like, it just, you know, threw more at me.
And even like the scene, I feel the scene we were all waiting for was obviously the cops from Spider-Man involved. So that was quite interesting. And then even this one, they didn't do the best job with it because not only did Zoe feel too stupid, uh, but even when they were talking about their strategy and what to do, they were literally standing behind her and saying everything.
I know, just out loud to like she was in the room. I was like, what?
Is that what
And I
cops
also-
do? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and I was also surprised by the technique they had for interrogating her. Like he came in and started being like, oh, friendly, like I'm just gonna have a conversation with you and get the information out of you that way. And I was like, that's good. I feel like that makes sense for when you're interrogating a high school student and they don't even know why they're being interrogated. And then he immediately turns and like starts revealing that they're looking for this person and they're, you know, and I was like, he could have gotten that information from her like willingly, I think, and much easier. And she would have given more if he continued with the like nice guy, cop, whatever appearance, you know, and the way he was talking.
Yeah,
just-
go
They're
ahead.
making it aggressively like these are the bad guys. These are not good people in this show. And I'm like, we can assume that, or like give us time to be like, I don't know if they're going to be good or bad. Like, are they going to try and help or are they not? You know?
Yeah, exactly. You can see the difference. Like it's the same character and the same actor, right? If you compare the way he was talking here to what happened in Spider-Man No Way Home, you can notice that the writing here was completely different and was
Yeah.
completely not doing it the correct way. I mean, I really surprised the actor went with it. Like he didn't have any complaints. I was like,
Yeah, seriously. I'm surprised I would be so curious to know if he did try and do it a different way and they were like, no, we don't like it like that.
and then the female cop comes in and she's like, is she Latina? Oh, we're supposed to say Latinx
Yeah,
now.
I was like,
who speaks like that? Oh my God.
no one says that. Like that was awful. I was like, oh my gosh, they're making this so I'm gonna share this part real quick. Oh, it's muted.
Popcorn. That's all we get for the break.
Like they're so friendly.
I'm not joking you.
Well, I'm so glad you liked it.
And you went to AvengerCon? Oh my gosh. You must have been mobbed by all your fans, no?
No,
You have a good time?
it was so fun. I mean, the costume contest did get canceled.
Like
but
she was
everybody
so
thought-
willing to give information right here.
Enhanced individual tried to kill you. Right.
And then he just goes like ice cold. And I was like, what are you doing?
She
What-
saved my life.
I have a feeling that you did this for the likes.
Because then she doesn't trust him. I was just like, what are you, a child, like pretending to be a police officer here? It felt so like incorrect and unprofessional. I was like, that's okay.
And as a person who doesn't have English as a native language, I can say what I'm about to say now. It's clear from this style that the people who were writing did not have English as their main native language. I don't know if they did, but I have the right to say that. Okay, it's not offensive if I say it. So you don't have to comment on it. It's fine. But I'm sorry, the writing just didn't make sense here and in most of the episodes. So yeah, I mean, we mentioned how this is the average maybe 90s or 2000s use, but this doesn't work in our days anymore. You have
Yeah.
tens of streaming services. They're all competing against each other. There's a lot of things to watch, like people in the 90s and 2000s, they would watch anything because they just wanted something on the TV. This doesn't work in our time anymore. You want people to watch something, you have to give me something better than this.
Yeah. And I think that's something that's so risky about these limited series, especially when they're this short. Like I'm pretty sure this is going to be 6 episodes and it's super short. It's like we don't have time to have these episodes that kind of turn the audience members away, because last episode was really good. It made me want to come back next week. And I come back and I watch this and I was like, well, that was kind of disappointing, because it didn't match the caliber of the first episode. And that can easily make someone just give up on the show. Like, why would I wait another week and then commit another 45 to 50 minutes to this show if there's a chance it's going to continue being like super disjointed and stuff? So I don't know. I think Disney and Marvel itself has a big enough fan base where they don't have to worry that much about it. And that's why sometimes it almost feels like they're being lazy on some of these episodes because they can. But I think that's kind of unfortunate. And that's why I'm like, what's better? Should they just make a movie about this character, or should they keep going with these limited series, because it almost gets too long sometimes,
I feel you mentioned, yeah, they do have a big fan base, and also they kind of made this unspoken rule. You have to watch everything if you want to be able
everything.
if you want to be able to understand what's coming up, you have to watch everything. And we have now this cross off between Spider-Man and Miss Marvel. I don't know if someone came up with the idea, but I'm throwing it out there. Maybe I'm the first one, but maybe Spider-Man and Miss Marvel go to the same college. We don't know that. But yeah, like if they pull up another episode like that, I think most people are I don't know what percentage, but they're gonna have a big jump down on the number of people.
Yeah.
Maybe they can get away with this episode, but if episode 3 is like this, I think it's done for many people.
Yeah. And I think as they keep coming out with more and more content, people are starting to, pick and choose what they feel is important to watch to be able to understand the like big movies and things that come out in the MCU. Cause like I know so many people who are like, of all the TV series for Marvel, yeah, I've watched WandaVision because I knew it'd be important for Doctor Strange. And like, yes, I watched Loki because that I also heard was going to tie into the multiverse of madness. But they were like, oh, I didn't watch Hawkeye because it didn't seem important, And so I think that's when it's starting to get tricky. If they keep doing series to introduce characters, I think it's getting a little risky because some people are going to be like, why do I need to spend a whole television series meeting a new character? If like they're going to come into a movie and in a movie, they're probably going to do some short introduction of them to recap, like, why do I need to watch the origin part? So I don't know.
Exactly. Like once it becomes too much for the viewer, they're gonna give up, like, okay, I
Yeah.
have to watch everything. No, I'm not gonna watch everything. I don't have time. I have other things to do, like
Yeah.
I'm not gonna waste my time. This is not the 90s anyway, it's not the 2000s. Yeah. And it's quite interesting how this episode was right when Obi-Wan Kenobi ended, because theoretically next week you don't have anything new but Miss Marvel. So
Yeah.
if you're this Disney Plus subscriber who's looking for something new to watch, you're gonna end up just watching Miss Marvel. So
Yeah.
maybe that's correlated. Maybe the new episode 2 was not good, so they decided to put it right at the time of the Obi-Wan Kenobi finale, and then after that,
Yeah. Now it'll be good.
yeah, after that, like, if you don't like it, that's the only thing you can watch right now. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, they would. I wouldn't put it past Disney would plan it out like that.
Indeed. When they were serving her alcohol, you don't have to say, and this for this one or two screenwriters that are probably watching us. You avoid exposition, so instead of saying is there alcohol in it, you can be like, oh, I can't drink, or
yeah, and then
you could just look at the cup and be like, no, thank you, and then he tells you, oh, but it's orange juice. Yeah, it's these small details sometimes that
I know, and cutting little things out like that, you would not believe how much smoother it would make the episode. Like it would be so much better.
Because now if I say it, you'd be like, oh, but it's almost the same. Yes.
It gives the same thing.
But when you watch it,
it's different because you're showing more than you're telling, and that that helps it completely for the viewers.
Exactly.
I'm interested to see how much they keep going into her powers. I expected this episode to be kind of the like training montage episode. Like I thought it was going to focus mostly on her training with Bruno, them trying to understand her powers. And so that would make sense with including this great grandmother and stuff. But I feel like even though we got like a little bit of all that, we didn't go into it at all. So I'm expecting now the next episode to be, because she also didn't tell Bruno about her nose glowing in class. Like she didn't seem worried about that at all. If that was me and that happened to me in class, I would like not be able to go back to school. I would not go drive with the guy. Like I'd be so scared that my powers were gonna come out at any time. Like she seemed so stress-free about it. She was like, oh, whatever. So I'm really hoping, because I feel like that's one of the fun parts of all the Spider-Man franchises, have that moment where he's like freaking out and then he has to figure out what to do to like control his whatever spider stuff. So I want her to have that moment,
Exactly. Now that you mention it, it's not that I don't remember. It's something I didn't think of after this episode ended, because I was so disappointed by all the random scenes they were throwing out. I completely forgot she was undergoing training.
Yeah, seriously. They started so strong with it, and then they were like, you don't need it anymore.
I was like, yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah. So we'll see. I'm hoping for better things in episode 3.
Yeah. But I think episode 3 is like, it's either you do a great job or you'll lose like most of what you have so left.
Yeah, I agree.
We'll see how it goes. Anything else?
That's all for me.
That's all from me too. Thanks for the 2 or 3 people that are watching us. We're growing up. We're gonna grow up. We're patient about it. We're growing up. All right.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see you all next week for episode 3.